Welcome to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ben, joined as always by your other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, how we feeling? We getting a little chilly up in the G-ville tonight. I know it's getting cold. How you doing?
B, in the famous words of Ollie from Family Guy, it's cold. Yeah,
Hey,
man.
cold.
We had some rain this weekend, brought in some cold weather, brought in some wind. It is what it is. We'll take it because we needed some rain, but when it rains, it pours, and it did for a couple days. So outside of that, it's all good. It's cold. What are you going to do, right? Look forward to
Ah,
breaking
well,
down this pod with you and
yeah, for sure. I was gonna
talk
say I
about
don't
the
think we can
season.
complain about the cold compared to what a lot of other people are feeling, but yeah,
No,
for
not at
sure, for
all.
sure.
Not at all.
All right, so yeah, welcome to episode 77, your 2025 season recap, such that it is. This is going to be we're going to go through it. We're going to do it because we do this episode every year, and we are putting this squarely in the rearview mirror. Um, that is going to be the topic for conversation tonight because, woof, this is rough. This is a season to forget for sure, in a lot of different ways. There are definitely some good takeaways, obviously, in some things, and we'll get to that as quickly as we can. But the high level overview we're going to start with here is not a lot of fun. So with that, we'll get in here with our intro, our mission, our accuracy disclaimer, our vision, and our agenda. As always, our mission, of course, to provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. Our accuracy disclaimer is that is our information will be accurate to the best of our possible ability. We'll cite our sources whenever we use them. All statistical data comes from either ESPN or stats.ncaa.org, and recruiting data comes from on3.com unless otherwise noted. Our vision is to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will be based on review of film, and while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will also evaluate strategy and tactics and discuss our observation of player personnel decision as well as on the field execution. All right, so agenda for tonight. We will first break down the overall rankings for offense and defense, such as they were. We will then bring in a little commentary on some other stats, and then very briefly discuss the second half breakdown of the season that we told you we would bring you um, from the bye week pod, and I do mean very briefly on that. We will then have a discussion. We did this last year too, and I do think it's important to do it again this year, regardless of how the season went, of the strength of schedule and the record, and kind of talk about that in relation to one another, and just what that means, and taking a look at that just for perception's sake. So we'll go from there on that. And then we will do our full season superlatives, break down offense, defense, and a freshman, one player each for that from each of us. And then we will wrap up our full season keep it or pitch it results from those picks we made way back in August for this full year. And we actually did better than I thought we would on those, surprisingly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, considering how the season went and what our expectations were, we actually did okay, amazingly. And then from there, we will wrap things up and sign off, and that is it. So with that, get us started. Break down these amazing offensive statistics from the season. Give it to me.
Well, first of all, thanks for your optimism. That
That
that's
was
much
that was
appreciated.
sarcasm, not optimism. Let me be very clear.
Oh, dang it. I thought I had him, but no, folks, I don't. All right, so overall ranks for the offense. And a lot of you are scratching your heads going, what offense? Well,
Correct.
there was so remember, folks, there's 134 teams in FBS football.
Yep,
134.
134 this year. It varies a
That's
little
the
every year. 134 this year.
That's the disclaimer. 134. Scoring offense tied for number 108 at 21.6
Ooh-wee.
points per
All
game.
right. All right.
21.6.
So you're telling me we weren't in the bottom 25. All right. All right.
Not in the bottom 25.
Barely.
Next up. Yeah. Next up, offensive yards per game coming in. Not tied. Sole place number 102. Producing 341.3 yards of offense per game.
All right.
Hold your applause. Now, next up, we're going to go with offensive yards per play coming in tied 86, 5.4 yards per
Hey,
play.
hey, in the top 100. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Next up, passing yards per game, number 89 at 204.6 yards per game.
All right.
Rushing yards per game, believe it or not, also number 89 at 136.8 rushing yards per game.
I'm surprised that's not higher. All right.
Right? And last but not least, third down completions, converting 34.2 on the season. Good for number 115 in FBS. I
So
rest
you
my
said
case, Your Honor.
so you said last but not least, except it absolutely was least.
Oh, I'm glad you got that. Okay, good. And that's why it was last. But hey, anyways,
Last and least. All right, cool.
last and
Um,
there you go.
so the highest ranking stat of anything there was yards per play at 86th, if I heard you correct. Is that right?
Bingo.
That's god awful. Okay, cool. That is absolutely horrific. Wow. Wow. Total yards and total scoring not inside the top 100 in Division 1 football or FBS, whatever. Still call it Division 1. I'll probably call it Division 1 my entire life because that's what it always was when I was a kid. But anyway,
Exactly. But
um
remember, that's why a certain head coach was hired. That's what got him here. That's what's
that's
going to
right.
get him there.
That's
That's what's
right.
gonna 8-year plan, 8 years.
Eight-year plan.
So,
Yeah.
Ben. Some people are head coaches for 8 years. Yeah, they're they're called goats. But
Yeah.
again, different movie quote, whatever.
Yeah, have fun with that, James Madison. Hope you enjoy the playoffs this year. I'm not sure you'll see him again.
Oh gosh,
So
Billy Madison, really? Billy Madison? Oh my gosh, it's too good. It's too good.
yeah,
What a fit.
no, for sure. And in fairness, they might because we saw Billy do well in the group of five, so maybe he'll do just fine at James Madison. I shouldn't say what I just said, but
Welcome
regardless,
back to the Sun Belt, Billy. Oh yeah, welcome home.
exactly. That's where he thrives, right? So he'll probably be fine. Um, anyway, yeah. So one of the things we always like to look at is what does this kind of tell us? I don't know that this actually tells us a whole lot, other than it was bad. We know that. Clearly, just a really down year. Um, Very difficult to see all the things that went on. Obviously we had some player bright spots within this,
Hmm.
but not a whole lot of team bright spot to talk about. I really don't have a whole lot more to say on it than that, because I'll just go down a deep dark hole that I don't want to crawl into, and
Don't do it.
I don't want to do that. So,
Don't do it.
any thoughts from you on kind of takeaways or any points you'd like to make in regards to the lovely stats you just put out there?
Well,
Actually, I do have one more, but I'll let you go first.
according to Mama Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, with this offense, I'm telling you, those Russell Stovers have been expired for the past 10 years, and you can't regift them. I'm sorry. Put them in the trash. They're bad. They're rancid. They're horrible. Um, get another box. Move on.
Yep. Yep. So the thing I wanted to say is that I do think that this was the absolute worst that you could have seen out of all of this, right? Napier, post Napier, Napier staff, whatever, right? This was the absolute worst case scenario, certainly on offense, that you were gonna possibly have, right? If it could go wrong, it pretty much did go wrong, with the exception of Jaden Baugh. And
Big exception.
and really, when you look at it, the good news here is that, as I already mentioned, we can put that in the rear view now. That is behind us officially. We have a new hire. We have a new offensive coordinator hire that definitely means that's in the rear view. I'm not going to get over my skis about how great that could be, but it looks very promising. Lot of good juju on Faulkner here. Definitely think there's a lot of things to look forward to and look ahead to. And we do not need to keep looking behind us for when this monster is going to crawl back up and bite us, because it's gone now, and that's a really good thing. And I think that's your positive takeaway here that I can leave it with, is there's no positives from this other than we're all done. And
Move
moving
on.
on. Moving on. Exactly right. Which is a somewhat similar story to this defense, actually. And that's a disappointing thing for me to have to say, but yeah, we'll move on here. So here's your defensive rankings. I actually compared these to 24 because I think it gives really good context for a point that I'll make here at the end. Oh, wait, before I get into this, are there any other stats that are not like your typical offensive stats that you want to discuss in regards specifically to offense at all, or is that just going to wait for when we get into that segment for you?
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait till we get into that segment. Outside
Okay.
of that, it's unfortunately not a whole lot to highlight, so I'm just going to keep it there where it is. I'm not going to exacerbate. I'm not going to try and butter it up any bit because I'm still crying over it. I still got egg on my face. That's it.
All right, fair enough. So my other stats are going to directly tie into my point here, so I'm going to get to those first with mine, and then we'll get back to yours. Fair enough?
Good.
Cool. Okay. So defensively, here we go. First and foremost, points per game, 24 points per game allowed. That was 63rd in the country. So we're already better than we were on anything on offense. Um, that was a .9 drop, so less than a point worse, but worse than last year. But it cost us 20 spots from 2024. So we were 43rd last year in scoring defense at 23.1. But again, this year 24, and we were 63rd. Next up, yards per game allowed, 376.8. And then also 5.46 yards per play this year as well. This one's going to blow your mind. Would you like to know what our yards per game allowed was last year?
Last year we were 4.62.
No, not yards per play, yards per game. Sorry,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
combining
Sorry.
these stats. So
Sorry.
yards per game.
Yards per game. I'm going to put us at, I don't know, 388.4.
Nope. This year we were 376.8. Last year we were 376.9.
Holy
Point
cow.
0.1 yard less
That's
allowed
wild.
this year than last. Effectively the same. And this is a trend that you're going to start noticing here. And we were actually 7 spots better this year at 69th than we were last year. However, comparatively, we were 0.21 yards per play worse. So we were only 5.25 yards per play last year. I don't have a ranking on that because it didn't re-rank them for me on that. But
Sure.
which is why I combined them. So we were the same in terms of our total production, just a little more yards per play, which means obviously we just had less snaps defensively, which is hard to fathom because I feel like we had a ton of snaps defensively this
Oh, yeah.
year. It actually doesn't even make sense.
Defense was on the
But
field a lot.
oh, you know what it is? 12 games versus 13. That's why.
Oh, hey, bowl
There's
game,
your
gas gate.
that's
Gotcha.
your answer. That's your answer right there. So that's why. But so yeah. So very interesting how close that was. On to the next. Passing yards per game, 222.9 allowed, tied for 73rd compared to 227.5 last year, an improvement of 10 spots in the rankings. Slightly a better pass defense, but again, what do you see? Effectively the same. 153.9 rushing yards per game allowed. That's 75th compared to 149.5 last year. Again, 4.3 something yards there, 4.6 yards difference, costing us 9 spots in the rankings. So up 10 in passing, down 9 in rushing. What does that equate to? The same, right? So we're effectively the same defense we were last year. The one big difference I will say is third down conversion. We gave up 44.4% of third down conversions this year. That is astronomically bad. We were not good last year, but we were better than that. We were 4.7% better than that last year at 39.7. That dropped us 41 spots. This year we
Wow.
were 116th. Last year we were 75th. So
Yikes.
significant change there. However, despite that, if you relate it back to total yards per game and total points per game, we were still basically what? The same.
The same.
So explain to me how it's possible that, especially down the stretch, but also really even a little before down the stretch, right? We talked about it. First bye week, we got better. Second bye week, we got a lot better defensively, or at least we thought we did. But we talked about this too. Did we really get that much better? Did we really get that much better? Or was it a bit of a mirage because of two key things: sacks and turnovers? So here are my other stats for you comparatively this year versus last year. And I was able to break down the mix of this for not only the whole season, but after the bye week last year. And I think this will be very eye opening. Okay, here you go. Sacks this year tied for 58 with 26th. In 2025, or excuse me, in 2025. Last year, we were tied for 11th with 39. You may remember, monster year. And 22 of those 39 came after the bye week. So in the last 6 games, not 5 games last year, right? Because we had the bowl game, but still, 22 of the 39 came after the second bye week.
What a chunk.
That's insane. Next stat, turnovers. This year we were tied 47th, so a little better than the sack rating, with 17 total takeaways. Last year we tied 13th with 25 total takeaways, and 16 of them, so all but 9, came in the last 6 games once again. The rest of my case. We talked about this being a havoc needing defense, right? The way that it's played, that if you don't get those sacks and you especially don't get those turnovers, you got to watch out, because when your bend don't break, yeah, you may still not allow a ton of points, but it's going to be a problem. Now, the team started off this year, I give them a ton of credit. They really made this work for them, even without getting a ton of sacks and without getting a ton of turnovers. They still made it work, and they played really, really good defense.
Right.
But they just couldn't sustain that with all the snaps they were taking, with all the injuries, right? As the season wore along, you just couldn't keep doing it. You couldn't keep doing it. I think we did end up seeing the best version of this early in this year, even without this stuff. But ultimately, when we couldn't continue to either produce this or keep guys healthy or just get them enough time off the field, especially with that third down conversion rate, which that's on them in fairness. But at the end of the day, it was just too much. And there's no way they could end up sustaining it. And that's why you saw those numbers kind of come back to the mean, if you will, of what this defense kind of produces. So very interesting to see how that can also potentially change as we move forward here. I'll throw out one last thing before I turn it back over to you for your other stats and your thoughts on this. You know, a lot of people are kind of maligning, maybe not maligning, that's not fair. They're kind of questioning the Brad White hire on the other side of the ball. And we'll talk more about this. But if you go back and look at Brad White as a defensive coordinator with Kentucky, his best years were when he was co-defensive coordinator with John Summerall. So let that sink in. Those are when he produced the best numbers overall. So I kind of like that, right? That kind of makes me go, oh, well, that's good, right? So just some positivity there for that as well. So I'll leave you with that. What are your thoughts on defense, and then what are your other stats that you wanted to throw in as well?
I think it's really interesting because we talked about this defense being bend don't break. So that was verified. It wasn't just verified on the field with the eye test, it was verified in the numbers. And the thing that was painstaking a lot for me this year was the fact that we did not get into the backfield enough. Like I mentioned, especially with Caleb being hurt, Caleb Banks,
Yeah.
Tyreek Sapp couldn't do what he was able to do last year, get into the backfield, create some havoc. And, it's feast or famine, right? When it rains, it pours. And at the end of the day, we just could not do it enough. The defense stays on the field too long. These guys get gassed. They're winded. It happens. I mean, you thought we played a lot of freshmen before. I mean, look at the amount of freshmen that saw the field this year and how deep we had to go into the rotations. It was not possible. And I think you used the best word to sum it up: sustainability. It was definitely not sustainable. And that was a major attribute to the scheme, in addition to the personnel and the injuries and everything else that came with it. It talk about a sum of all the parts. It's just it's a very telling. This data absolutely tells that story.
Yep, for sure. 100%. No, very, very well said. Very well said.
Yeah, and outside of that, the only other thing I wanted to mention is, especially I like the fact that, you know, based off the numbers that we looked at for Pro Football Focus, the defensive numbers under Brad White for Kentucky. It's funny you say that. I had them pulled up earlier, but in 2019, ranked 15th total defense. In 2020, 22nd, 21, 33rd, 22nd. In 2022, ranked 20th, 23 ranked 18th. A slip in 2024, 44th, and 2025, 27th. So I was I scratched my head a little bit on Brad White, especially in the press conference. Hey, I don't hire my friends. Okay, good. But then, huh? And then, oh, interesting. So let's see how it pans out for 26 and beyond.
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, we'll break this down in a lot more detail when we go through and do the whole analysis and review of these guys. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how this progresses and where we go with all of these new staff hires, um, for sure. But frankly, I'm kind of glad to see a lot of it change because there's a lot of things here that just frankly could be better. Obviously, offensively, that was drastically needed. But I think even defensively, I mean, there were some things we did that I was okay with and liked and you know thought were good and everything else. But ultimately, there's just been some stuff that's been lacking, right? We've talked about it. Um, it just I think it just lacks some aggression. Really, is what it comes down to. I'd like to see us be more aggressive, and I'd like to see us be more multiple. We kind of just always did the same thing for a lot of it. We didn't vary it up very much. You
Sure.
know, um, and I don't know that that's the best way to go about it. Because again, if you have teams like what Tennessee did, if you come in and take the approach of, hey, I know you're not going to change, so I'm going to do the things that I know work to beat you, they can beat the brakes off you up and down the field. Proof's in the pudding. You saw it happen.
Hmm.
So Kentucky too, really. Kentucky did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not good. That's not good. So again, I think change was needed, and I'm glad to see it. So there you go. All
Agreed.
right.
And
Anything else from a statistical standpoint before we, of course, make our quick mention on the second half stuff?
yeah, no, the only thing I had to say, I'll tell you what, we'll just move to the second half stuff,
Cool.
is the fact that, guess what, folks? B and I looked at the numbers regarding the first 7 games with Billy, with Napes, with Nappy Head, with Sunbelt, with Bayou Billy. Um, Sorry, that was another one that came out of the blue. I know. Versus the last 5 games with Billy G, Gonzalez, O'Hara, and Callaway, the law firm, the very mundane law firm. And it just, I'll just give you a glimpse. When you look at scoring offense, it was worse. When you look at offensive yards per game, it was worse. It went down. Passing yards per game, abysmal, abysmally worse. I mean, down almost, oh, I don't know, 50 yards. Rushing yards per game, the only thing that was up 12 yards a game, and third down completions up 7 full percentage points. And that's it, folks.
Yeah, and everything defensively was down. So basically, it was all down except for rushing yards per game a little bit and third down
Third down
conversions,
complete.
which I'm glad third down
That's
conversions went up, but they really would have been hard for them to go down because we were in the tank so much. So, um,
yes.
so yeah, I mean, it was really, really, really bad, and we just didn't want to continue to pile on the negative here. So we're going to move
Nope.
on from it, and we're going to go from
Yep.
there. So with that, I will let you open since I just basically closed out that piece of it. Give me your thoughts on the record and the strength of schedule here, and kind of what we should be looking at in regards to that. Even though obviously our record is horrible, and that goes without saying, but I still think it's worth having a brief discussion around this. So give me your thoughts there.
Yeah, definitely. 4-8, folks. 4-8. We know the last 4-8 record was 2013. Coach Boom and Muschamp, that was what it was. But outside of that, the 4-8 mark is the worst record in 45 years of Florida football. Yes, we feel your pain. Um, Let me just run down. I'm going to run through each game if that's okay with you, B. So LIU, yeah, 55-0. Again, do your job. You win what you're supposed to win. Okay. USF, okay, lost 18-16. They were 24th, right? Their highest ranking in a decade. Now they're unranked, but either way, showed to be very competent, very dynamic, and exploit our weaknesses. LSU, at the time that we played them, number 9, their highest ranking to start the season, number 3. Now they are unranked, but again, another ranked team. And by the way, the ranking, I took the AP poll. Next game, Miami. Okay. At the time that we played them, ranked number 5. We lost that game 26-7. Okay. Highest ranking was number 2 in the nation. Now they are ranked number 10. Next game against Texas. Archie, preseason number 1. When we played them, number 9, and currently number 13. Next up, Timu. Yes, Florida West, Texas A&M University, the Aggies. Ooh, rah. When we played them, they were number 5. Their highest ranking was number 3, and now ranked number 7. Mississippi State, unranked when we played them, still unranked. That was a win. Yay. Um, Georgia, 10th when we played them, number 3 currently within the CFP race, right? Next game, Kentucky, unranked, and they absolutely outranked us in that game because we never made it off the plane in Lexington. Um, Ole Miss, number 4 when we played them. Highest ranking was number 4. They are currently number 6. Tennessee, highest ranking, number 12. Now they're unranked, 8-8-4. But either way, another ranked team. And then Florida State, yes, of course, the Criminals, now unranked, but obviously a big upset of Alabama to start the season. And they got as high as number 14 in the AP poll. So we had a 12-game season, and of those 12 games, we had what? 3 teams that we played that were unranked
When we
in the
played them
top
or now?
25. Let's see, when we played them was just LIU, Mississippi State, and Kentucky. Oh, and FSU, so 4.
So I'm sorry, say it again. So 4 are now unranked, or when we played them, they were unranked? Just clarifying.
When we played them.
When we played them, 4 were unranked. How many are ranked now, currently?
Let's see.
Because that's how they grade the schedule out, is how it ends the season or whatever. I don't know why,
Mm-hmm.
but
6. Looks like 6.
6 currently ranked. That's pretty solid. And
Oh
as you
yeah.
said, it was 8 when we played them. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Outside of that, the main thing is this. I mean, different pundits went back and forth on ESPN and wherever else saying, "Oh, it's the top 2, it's the top 1, it's top 3." Regardless of the fact, when you look at this, okay, 10 games against Power 4 conference teams, right? Back-to-back road games at LSU and Miami. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Midseason gauntlet, right?
Yep.
Texas A&M, right? Even though it was after a bye week.
Yeah,
And then,
but
of
still.
course, yeah, when you late season challenges against Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, folks, at the end of the day, regardless of what we thought this offense was going to be, what we thought this team was going to be, and just the defense in general, that was an absolute tough schedule.
Yeah, it was for sure. And I'm going to further that point here in a minute. I got a little
Please
bit of
do.
potential breaking news, but I'm going to save it for in a minute here. It's nothing lock solid or anything, but we'll get to it in a minute when we do superlatives. Okay. So think back to the beginning of the season and the discussion we had around the schedule, right? And we talked about the ranked teams we'd play then. For the record, I didn't know it was going to be 8 when we played them, 6 at the end of the year. I think it was 7 when we started the year, ended up being 6. Um, and again, 8 when we actually played, which is remarkable. You sure it wasn't 9 when we actually played? Because the only unranked teams that we played when we played, no, you're right. It was 8. It was 8. Kentucky, Mississippi State, uh, LIU, and Florida State. Yep, you're right.
LIU and FSU,
Yep,
right?
yep. So it's 8 when we played them. Yep. So okay. So we talked about the same thing last year, and some things might have gotten a little easier last year during the schedule than from the beginning look to the end look, right? We talked about it a lot last year. We didn't talk about it as much this year because it was kind of felt redundant to keep talking about the schedule. But let's look at it really quickly. So despite all the ranked opponents, which I'm really glad you made those points about ranked. I didn't know you were going to do it, but I'm really glad you did because I didn't focus as much on the ranked. I focus on playoff teams.
Ah, sure.
UGA, playoff team. Timu, playoff team. Miami, playoff team, even though they shouldn't be. Ole Miss, playoff team. Texas, not a playoff team, but for my money, should have gotten in over Alabama. And would have if we hadn't beaten them. Period. They would be in for sure.
Yeah.
And here's the point I want to make. That's 4 playoff teams. And there's only 4 other teams that I could find in FBS, or excuse me, 3 other teams that I could find in FBS. We are one of 4 that played 4 college football opponents. Now, I did my own research on this. I tried to find a way to find it on the web. I didn't look at all 133, 134, whatever, FBS teams. I did not go through every schedule, folks. I'll tell you right now, I don't got that kind of time. But I did research all the playoff team schedules and look as best I could for common opponents, right, on each schedule and try and see, okay, how many times do I see this team? How many times do I see this team? How many times do I see this team? There were a lot that had 3. I did not see many with 4 other than us, Texas, LSU, and South Carolina, believe it or not. Those all had 4 opponents that are in the CFP. All SEC teams. Shocker. When you have 5 teams, then it does make it easier. Now, obviously, we played 2 of those teams, of course. So there's 2 of the teams that played the 4 that we played, right? But more importantly, the point I made about Texas, I genuinely think Texas has an argument to be in. And they were right on the cusp regardless. So what do you call that for us? 4.5 that we played? I don't know. But I think to the point of how hard the schedule was, nobody else played 4 and then played another team that almost got in. Nobody had that besides us. So this schedule is absolutely ridiculous and did end up being harder than last season's, as we thought it might be to start the season.
Yes.
This schedule was harder than last year's. Last year's was brutal. This one was worse. It really was. Now, does any of that explain or excuse 4-8? Hell no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it is always important to give context. And my question is, would any of the other top teams have gone undefeated or had 1 loss against this schedule? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Undefeated, I would almost guarantee no. 1 loss, maybe, but man, it would have had to be a heck of a season. I think you were looking at 10-2 for any of them, even in the upper echelon, in all likelihood. But having said that, that means that needs to be the goal when the competition is this difficult for us, right? 10-2 should be the goal, right? When you see a schedule like this. And we were obviously a long way away from that. So what am I getting at? What's my point? My point is perspective is important. And we should not lose sight of some of the very difficult challenges that we faced this year. 9-3 would have been really, really, really good. Look at Texas. Again, I make the argument they should be in, not because of this point, just because I think they played a much harder schedule and did better against it than Alabama did at 10-2 before they got. I just think their schedule was better. And then when they get dump trucked in the SEC championship game, I think that shows you something that makes a case for them to be in. And if you're going to cut others out after they lose their conference championship game, then you have to let it affect Bama too. Anyway, I'm not trying to have that conversation. So
you want to go ahead and read your email to the committee? No,
yeah,
I'm kidding.
right.
I'm kidding.
9-3 would have been really, really good, and 8-4 should have been considered successful, in my opinion, based on what we faced and where we were as a team and everything else. Does that mean going forward that that's okay? No. Not many years are we going to have a year like this in terms of difficulty. In fact, I doubt we'll see another one like it for a long time. I've seen the schedule for the next several years. It's not this bad. Thank goodness. It's not easy, but it's not like this, right? But we talk about this because when seasons come along that are challenging, and I mean really challenging, we do have to adjust expectations. You can't just say, "Oh, we're Florida, we're going to go 11-1 because we are who we are. The schedule doesn't matter." It does. I heard a lot of talk at the beginning of the year. Oh, we got all this talent. We're going to do better. We're going to go 11-1, or we're going to go 10. We were never going to do that. I'm sorry. Despite the Napier, despite the
Yeah.
offense, we were never going to do that. 9-3 was the absolute best this team could have done, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best that almost any team could have done. Again, maybe there's a select few that could have gone 10-2, but we were not that good. We were not good enough to have done that. Obviously, that's a pipe dream compared to what we did. But my point is, you have to adjust the expectation sometimes, at least a little bit. And it's not wrong or unreasonable or sacrilegious to do so. That's the point, at least in my mind. So, again, I think it's good to have these conversations for perspective. Now, moving forward and going into next year and the year beyond, when the schedule is not this ridiculous gauntlet, it is still, again, challenging, but it's not insanity. I think it's absolutely right and reasonable and expected that, assuming we retain talent and recruit talent and keep talent and grow talent and coach talent and build talent and have better schemes and better planning and everything else, that we can have a 10-2, 11-1 season. Those are not unrealistic expectations. But when you run into a buzzsaw of a schedule, you have to think, man, this is just a really tough year. And you have to be okay with that to a degree. You just have to. And if
To
the
a
committee
degree,
actually
right.
considered strength of schedule like they said they were going to, theoretically, you should still get into the playoff. But I'm going to bet you that Texas doesn't feel so good about that. Moving along.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, full season superlatives: offense, defense, and freshman. First up, offense. I'll get us started here because it relates to my potential breaking news. No surprise on this one, Jaden Baugh. I don't think there's really any question here. If you don't have Jaden Baugh, I'm probably going to walk out and stop doing the pod. But
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
maybe you won't. I don't know, but
Uh-oh.
I'd just be shocked. Okay, quick rundown. Seventh highest rushing total in UF history. Second highest by an underclassman, as we already documented. 1,170 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns. Also had 33 receptions for 210 yards and 2 more touchdowns. Ridiculous. That is all by CFPstat.com, by the way. It is not from the typical site because I wanted the full season breakdown stuff. To top it off, filling in for VB3 on kick return duty after he got hurt, he returned 4 kicks for an average of 20.5 yards per kick. So just icing on the cake. Over 20 yards a kick on a return. All in, he accounted for 1,380 yards from scrimmage at a clip of 5.5 yards per play and 115 yards per game. We talked about him basically every week with good reason, and I am really, really, really hope to see him back in orange and blue next year. Loved watching you play, Jaden. I hope we get to see you do it again, and I hope that the breaking news that I have about his Instagram post that he just made in his Gator uniform, pointing to his Gator uniform with the tag IGH, which supposedly, according to the kids, stands for I Go Hard,
Mm-hmm.
means he's going to be back. It's cryptic. I don't know. Can't tell for sure, but I feel like a post in your uniform pointing to your number with a caption that supposedly means that, I can't interpret it as a bad thing. So here's hoping. Here's hoping. That's what I got. Was your offensive superlative?
I like it. Don't walk out.
Oh
Don't
boy.
walk out.
Oh boy.
Because my offensive superlative is none other than number 13.
Okay.
Uh,
I was going to be like, who can you possibly pick?
yeah, right? Exactly. Folks, B and I have talked about it probably week in, week out. We don't want to beat the proverbial horse the same way that we wanted to reflect this record and, the first 7 games of the season versus the last 5 without Napes. But 1,170 rushing yards on 220 attempts, 5.3 yards a carry, 7 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns.
Wait, you got 7 rushing touchdowns? I got 8 rushing touchdowns. How's that possible?
because stats are stats. Well, guess what? Let's just go with 10. That works.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Okay, moving
He, he
along.
he probably should add more, but it is what it is. He set a Florida rivalry record with 266 rushing yards in a game against the Criminals, right? Averaging over 90 yards a game. Obviously, the last game of the season helped bump that up. Produced multiple 100-yard rushing games, four to be exact. Oh, and by the way, when he rushes for over 100, the
We
Gators are
win.
4-0. 4-0. So, great kid, presents well, good demeanor, and I tell you, what a find to know that this kid in high school played linebacker, quarterback, wildcat quarterback, running back, safety, just all over the place. Kick returner, just, he is the definition of glue. He just holds everything together, right? Doak Walker Award Watch list this year, of course, the nation's best running back. But in addition to that, the Paul Hornung Award Watch list. And that one is to, of course, the name Paul Hornung, the Notre Dame player, the most versatile player in all of college football. So he's on that watch list. Can't say enough about number 13, Jaden Baugh. I hope that post comes true. I heard a little birdie tell me the other day that he got a lucrative offer from LSU. It is going to be countered. It should not be too serious. They're going to do whatever they can do to retain him because they should, they must, they will, they need to. And so we hope to be talking about him in 2026.
Well, certainly here's hoping. Like I said, I hope this is a good indicator. It certainly can't seem like a bad indicator from that. So,
Mm-hmm.
here's hoping it does actually mean something. Um, but yeah, so fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. And I would have to think he likes Faulkner coming in. Obviously, a guy that gets a lot out of his running backs in any scheme that he's running. So I can't imagine that we're not doing things that would make him happy from a scheme and coaching standpoint. And
Yep.
then obviously we're certainly going to be smart enough to take care of him on the financial side. I would assume. So all right, good deal. Anything else there?
That's it.
All right, get us started on your defensive superlative. I wonder if we might align here as well.
We might align. I think we could. I think we might. But at the end of the day, it on the defensive side of the football, as B mentioned, it was tough as we saw the scheme change this year. Well, as far as the results change with it. At the end of the day, this is someone that we've talked about for pretty much all season, almost every game.
Yeah,
A true sophomore, someone who was named as a true sophomore, the quarterback of the defense, and again, Miles Graham. So happy to see him thrive. Son of Ernest Graham, former Gator running back. Ernest Graham, his father actually coaches right up the road at Santa Fe High School. Miles went to Buchholz High School, enrolled early, and the one thing that I was worried about Miles, he did have back surgery, a minor procedure on his lower back, and that was left over from a high school injury. Wondering how that was going to do, how it was going to heal, how it was going to affect him. Yeah, no, in the rear view. Talk about being in the rear view. He started
yes,
every game of the 2025 season, led the Gators with 76 tackles, 36 solo, made his way into the backfield 17 times, 8 QB hurries, 2 sacks, 7 TFLs, and not to mention he recorded 4 PBUs in pass coverage. The kid is everywhere on the field. He's ubiquitous. It seems like he's always flying to the
nice.
ball. I love his passion. I love the way he plays. He's got a great motor, and he's someone that you have. I mean, the motor within. You don't have to worry about motivating him. You have to worry about if he's going to do this or if he's going to do that or if he's going to do the right thing. There's a reason why, as a true sophomore, he's the quarterback of that defense, and look forward to see what he's going to do moving forward with Brad White because, as he mentioned, he is a Gator through and through. It's
Yep.
his dream to play for the Orange and Blue, and he will fulfill that dream in coming seasons. So my defensive superlative, Mr. Miles Graham.
Yeah, love it. You out here dropping SAT words on us though, man. Hey, take it easy. Take it easy now. It's good stuff. Good Good stuff. All right. Yeah, so same here. So I really looked at this. I tried to see, okay, on defense, like, is there somebody else that I could pick?
Yep.
Like, because on offense, I felt like I had no choice, right? I felt like it's be sacrilegious, to pick anybody else. I said on defense, can't let me go through this. Let me look at everybody. Let me see statistically and let me think about it. Like, is there anybody else? Because, we obviously did talk about Miles almost every week as well, of course. And is there anybody else I could pick? And I looked at it. Nope. There is really no choice here for being the most outstanding player on the defense. And again, not a surprise as you mentioned, but again, there's just not another choice when you look at it. Led the team in tackles, as you said, by 20. He led it by 20.
Oh,
Nobody
yes.
was close. 76 to 56 was the next closest tackler. 36 of those solo. You called this out. 7 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. And to call out the 4 passes defended, do you know who else had 4 passes defended? Just our best corner, Devin Moore.
Hey,
That's all. So the guy who's supposed to defend passes has as many passes defended as a linebacker. Now, in fairness, quarterbacks didn't throw at Devin Moore a lot because they knew he was that good and offenses kind of schemed away from him. But nonetheless. And by the way, a pass defended means you actually influenced the pass and like broke it up. It doesn't mean you were just defending the guy the ball was thrown at, just so we understand the stat itself. But nonetheless, absolutely incredible. The versatility, the athleticism, and the intelligence we see Miles play with on a game in and game out basis. I think we talk about that as much as we talk about anything. He's such a smart player out there, does the right thing almost every single time. It's just so impressive. It's fun to watch and really excited to see what he can do to put together another junior year, especially with, as you mentioned, a revised coaching staff here, has the opportunity to really amp up the defense and the pressure, especially at the linebacker position, I feel like that position is going to get as much love, if not more, than any other, section level, position group, whatever, of the defense. I just have a really good feeling about that, and especially with the linebacking group that we already have there, and some of the, potential that we have to bring in. I just really think that group is going to shine. Really hope we retain everybody there, but obviously, I think retaining Miles is going to be a no-brainer, as you mentioned. I don't think there's a chance he goes anywhere at all. So, and frankly, I don't think there's much of a chance that any of them do, because I think they'd be foolish to. I think, we already had a good thing going there, and you're
yeah.
bringing in a staff that's going to make you shine even more than you
Even
already
more.
did. So
Hmm.
it just doesn't make sense. All right. Here's where I might throw you a curveball. Freshman. I think that I know who you're going to pick. I think I do. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but
Okay.
this one is the least obvious of the 3, but I still feel like it was pretty obvious, and I went a different direction. And it happened because I was looking at the defense and something stood out to me, and I was like, you know what? Wow, I got to pick this guy as my freshman. And my curveball
Oh,
is I'm going Jaden Woods.
Jaden Woods.
I'm going
I
Jaden
knew
Woods.
it.
Yep. Despite playing very limited snaps early in the season, and even midway through the season to an extent, and still holding a backup role throughout most of the year, really until like the last 2 games when Gums went down. He puts up 28 tackles, 12 solo, 5 TFLs, ties for the team lead in sacks at 3.5. He also forces a fumble, recovers a fumble, has a pass defended, which is, of course, the same pass that he intercepted and almost ran back for a touchdown. Absolutely stellar stuff on film from this kid, even in the limited amount of time that he had. And as much as VB3 is also deserving here, and I'm almost certain that's who you're picking, I had to give it to Jaden, because I just felt like, man, that is just too much good stuff for a freshman, especially when you're tied for the team lead in sacks. Not that 3.5 is a lot of sacks, but hey, it's still time for the team lead, and you're a true freshman. And again, he barely played. Like, I mean, not barely, but he did not get the snap count that, some of the other guys that were out there starting got. Not even close. I don't think he got half of it.
Right.
And that is impressive stuff to have the stat line that he had, and certainly what we saw on film. I mean, that dude was living in the backfield. I mean, just really impressive stuff. Cannot wait to see him. He is one that we better keep too. He is on my short list of guys that need to be kept on defense for sure. So really hope we can retain him.
Oh yeah.
Um, or that he's far from home, so that one could get a little tricky. I really hope we keep him around. Really, really, really would love to see him continue to thrive here. So, who you got for freshman? Am I
Great
right?
pick.
Did I
I
call it?
love it. I love it. Great pick.
Thank you.
Well, here's the thing. It's tough because, we've got two kids on the team with the same last name of Wilson. One's the third, one's the first. And I tell you what, had he had a full season, had he have had a full season, not laden with injuries, I believe Dallas Wilson would have been my freshman superlative. I
Right?
really do. Really do. But alas, it will go to VB3. You're right.
Yep, I
Um,
figured. And deservingly so.
yeah, played in 10 games, started in 6 games, wide receiver, served as punt returner, kick returner, caught a team leading 40 passes, 512 yards, added another 261 in the return game. Ranked 5th in the nation amongst true freshmen in APY, all purpose yards.
Yeah, good call out on the return yard. That's a really valid point.
Yeah. Second among true freshman wide receivers, 773 total. So
Wow.
here's the thing. He made a catch against LIU. People remember the catch. They compared it to Ricky Pearsall, compared it to OBJ. Let's face it, folks, that ball was overthrown.
Yep.
St- he stumbled, stuttered, arm back. You know, he had plenty of stickums on there, just like in the replacements. But what a catch. He did a couple of amazing things this year, did such amazing things. The plays that he made, the range that he has. Now, again, we do know he had 3 or 4 key drops throughout the season that ended drives, that ended some momentum, but he did more good than was impacted negatively. I'm looking forward to see what he does in his sophomore season. But I tell you what, VB3, we would not have had some of those awe-inspiring moments had it not been for him being on the field this year. So as a true freshman, and by the way, I love your pick. I love Jaden Woods. I looked at the defense myself and I was like, that could be a good one. And that's why I said I knew it because I can see why you would go there. Just had to give it up to VB3 just for the excitement of what he brought and the fact that whenever he touched the ball, everyone got on the edge of their seat. Everyone started to raise up a little bit just to see what he would do. And that's the impact he had as a true freshman, and it was phenomenal.
No, I'm really glad that you did stick with him, go with him, whatever the case might be. I was banking on it because I would have felt bad, honestly, if neither one of us picked him because he's deserving for sure. So,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did go that way. And again, I only changed it up because, like I said, I saw that in the stat line. I was like, you know what? I got to call this kid out too. So,
Great job.
really
Oh
glad you
yeah,
stuck with him though, for sure. So,
for
all
sure.
right. Last point here, full season keep it or pitch it, and then 2025 is officially dead and gone. All right, here we go.
Heyo.
Um, the the full season ones that we had back at the beginning of the year, just to close them out. First one was Gators will have a kick or punt return for a TD. I think we're just going to keep doing this one until somebody finally does it. Might take another decade, but maybe we'll get there. I pitched it this year. Randy kept it. Obviously, I got this one right. You missed it. So 1-0 and 0-1 going through this first part. This one next is Gators defense exploded. I had 38 sacks here, and apparently we had 39. So again, who the hell knows? And they will continue the strong pace of getting the opposing quarterback to the ground, and we'll have 35 or 34 and a half team sacks on the year. We both kept that. We were way off. Didn't even get within 9 of that number. Yeah, very disappointing on the sack total this season. So there you go. Both missed that one. I'm not going to keep the individual records as we go. I'll just give you the overall when we're done. Okay.
Yeah.
Under Billy Napier, there is no statistical evidence of true 10 or 00 personnel ever being run at UF. With the addition of Callaway's increased influence on offense, we will see a level we will see at least 5% of the offense run in one of these two personnel packages. This was referencing back to the comment that Callaway made in the offseason about how they're going to potentially run different stuff, but we didn't buy it. We both pitched this. We were right. They ran none, of course. No personnel groupings like this. However, Faulkner will. Let's go. All right, moving along. The Gators offense will be a top 30 unit by 2024 averages. So we use the 2024 averages to come up with the numbers for this, and said that they needed to hit the 2024 number averages to be a top 30 unit, even if it didn't make them top 30 in 25, just to explain this out. That they would score at least 33 points per game. We were 28.3 in 2024. Obviously, we were nowhere near this. No. We both pitched this. I said it'd be close, but hey, I pitched it, so it doesn't matter. No, did not happen. Not even close. Not even in the hemisphere of or in the stratosphere of being close. Yeah, nowhere near this. So we both got that one right. And then last but not least, the Gators defense will be a top 30 unit by 2024 averages, needing 21.5 points per game. I kept this one. You pitched it, and you said close on your end on that. Obviously, you got that one right. You were right. It was close, but we did not hit it. Thus, we ended up, I got the first one right. You got it wrong. You got the last one right. I got it wrong. 3-2 for both of us because we both got two of the other three correct. So a tie. There you go. 3-2. Yep. So again, better than I thought we'd do considering the results of this season. But we read the tea leaves okay on the full year stuff, despite the train wreck that it was. So with that, goodbye 2025. Moving on into the new year, both theoretically and in reality, right? For the season and for the actual year. Yeah, Sia is right, man. Man, tough one. I don't know. It very hard to remember, and I think we already discussed at a time where you had this kind of expectation, and I tempered it down a lot, honestly, because of the schedule, because of Napier, because of so many things. But the talent that we had here, it was really hard to see how we were not still going to have a pretty darn good year, and then 4-8, and wow, wow. Did not see that coming. Did not see that coming. That escalated quickly. It's a quote, the great Ron Burgundy. So there you go.
There you go.
All right. It did. With that, those are my final thoughts on this. I will turn it over to you. Walk us through next pod timing and sign us off out of here, will you?
Definitely. Yeah. Glad to have this season in the books. Listen, one of the things we love doing, especially on the weekends as a family, is making a big old breakfast. And I love me some eggs over medium, just saying, with a little bit of Everglades seasoning and hot sauce. Folks, every time I thought about making eggs, I thought about this offense and just this team in general and the egg that I had on my face this season. I know a lot of you are joining me in that. And for that, I am grateful because we thought there was going to be so much more than 8-4, or I'm sorry, 4-8. So thank goodness it is behind. Our next regularly scheduled podcast we're going to do a couple weeks from now, Monday, December 22nd, just before Christmas, where we'll be looking at an in-depth review of the new coaching staff and the new coaching and the staff hires. So that's going to be very interesting. We're going to pick apart some of that. They're probably not all going to be done, but for the ones that are there in the next couple of weeks, we'll take a look at them. So outside of that, anything else you want to mention, B?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, well, like you said, we'll just break down whoever is there at that point in time. Obviously, any future hires that haven't occurred yet, as far as positional coaches and stuff like that, we'll just do in a later pod. But we want to at least get to, obviously the big ones with OC and DC, like we mentioned, break those down, and certainly any other positional coaches, and of course, look at Summerall, right, and his track record and how things maybe are a little different. We will also have playoff results to look at from him as well, which I don't expect to be very good, but nonetheless, we will still have some stuff to look at there. So, we will certainly be able to examine it all and kind of take a look and see what it looks like. So there you go.
Bingo. Love it. Well, with that being said, wherever you are and whenever you may be listening, thank you for taking the time, and we will see you around, Gator Nation.